All right, let's just dive right in. You know, for thousands of years, there's been this one pharaoh who's just a complete mystery. A king who basically got rid of 1,000 gods, only to have his own memory totally wiped from history. Today, we're going to try and unlock the story of Akhenaten and his family. We're going to dig into a spiritual message so revolutionary, you can still feel its echoes today.
So, who was this guy, really? Let's start with the man himself, Akhenaten. And look, he wasn't just another ruler. This was a pharaoh who took the most powerful, most ancient civilization on Earth and decided to flip it completely on its head. And that immediately brings us to the big question, the one historians have been wrestling with for centuries. Was Akhenaten a heretic? You know, a mad king who just wanted to smash tradition? Or was he a visionary, a mystic who was just way, way ahead of his time? That's the core mystery we're exploring.
I mean, just look at the scale of this change. It's staggering. On one side, you have thousands of years of tradition, a whole pantheon of gods, an incredibly powerful priesthood, endless complex rituals. And on the other side, Akhenaten's vision, one single universal source. No middlemen, no priests needed, just a direct personal connection to the divine. This wasn't just a reform, it was a total reset.
So you have to ask, why? Why would he do all this? To really get it, we have to look past the historical drama and get into the idea itself. We need to wrap our heads around the radical new concept of God that he was introducing. And here's the key thing to understand. Akhenaten's Aton, it wasn't just another sun god to add to the list. No, it was a metaphor. The physical sun we see in the sky was just the symbol for something much, much deeper. The single universal source of all life, all light, and all consciousness itself. This really gets to the heart of the philosophy. The Aten stood for divine oneness. And what that means is this. There's one universal energy, and it flows through everything and everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a pharaoh or a farmer, an Egyptian or a foreigner, it touches everyone equally. There's no hierarchy, no judgment, just one shared source.
Okay, this is my favorite part. The art from this time, it often shows the Aton's rays of light, and they end in these little hands reaching down, literally touching the royal family. This quote just captures that feeling perfectly. The divine wasn't some faraway abstract thing anymore. It was right here, right now, an intimate, tangible presence you could feel in your daily life.
So how do you communicate an idea that big? An idea that radical? Akhenaten's main tool wasn't some new holy book or a bunch of laws. No, it was a complete and total revolution in art. It's that simple, really. The art from his reign, what we call the Amarna period, it was a teaching tool. Every single statue, every carving, was designed to show you this new spiritual idea visually. It was a way to make it accessible to everybody, not just a few people who could read. And wow, you can see the difference immediately. I mean, it's night and day. Traditional Egyptian art was so stiff, so formal. It showed these perfect, godlike pharaohs who felt miles away. But Amarna art, it was shocking. It's so natural, it's fluid, it's emotional. It shows the pharaoh and his family in these deeply human, intimate moments.
And that's why those family scenes were so important. The royal family basically became a living symbol, a kind of archetype. He was showing people that the divine isn't something you find hidden away in a dark temple. It's in the love between a husband and a wife. It's in the joy of just playing with your kids. It's in the sacredness of everyday life.
Now, what's really fascinating is that this wasn't just about changing some beliefs or a few art styles. This was a direct, head-on challenge to the entire power structure of ancient Egypt.
Seriously, if you strip away all the ancient Egyptian stuff for a second, what you see is this incredible attempt to decentralize spiritual power. Akhenaten was trying to take power away from this massive religious institution and give it back to the individual.
And here's the game plan. Step 1. He went right after the all-powerful priesthood of the god Amarna. Step 2. By saying the divine touches you directly, he made all their complex, expensive rituals totally unnecessary. And Step 3. The ultimate goal. Empower every single person to have their own direct line to that universal source.
So, with a spiritual experiment this big, this incredible, what happened? Did it actually change the world? Let's take a look at the fate of this revolution and, maybe, what its story means for us today.
Well, the historical reality is, it's brutal. After Akhenaten died, the old priesthood came roaring back, and they came back with a vengeance. His new city was abandoned, his temples were torn down, and his name was literally chiseled out of every monument they could get their hands on. They tried to erase him from memory forever. But the story doesn't just end there as a failure. It's better to see it as part of a cycle. First, you have this incredible awakening during Akhenaten's time. Then, of course, comes the backlash from the old system. But a powerful idea like this doesn't truly die. It just goes dormant, waiting to resonate again in a new era, maybe even our own.
And this brings us right back to that central puzzle. Was he a true visionary who tapped into a universal truth? Or did his attempt to force this new vision on an entire country, making it so rigid, actually cause its own downfall? It's a tough question, and one we're really meant to think about.
So, at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway here? It's not just about one pharaoh from 3,000 years ago. It's about these timeless ideas. The idea that all of humanity shares a divine origin, that the real family under the sun is everyone, and that the divine isn't some being out there that you have to worship, but that it's the very essence of existence itself.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. If we look past the history, if we see the Aton as a metaphor for a universal consciousness, then this story isn't just about ancient Egypt anymore, is it? It's about us. Are we all children of the sun, just waiting to awaken to our own connection?